I was blacklisted from the time I was 22.
At 99 years old, Lee Grant is not just surviving, she's thriving, reflecting a life filled with triumphs, trials, and a career that has spanned decades. From her breakthrough performances on stage and screen to her unexpected victories in Hollywood, Lee Grant has consistently defied expectations, proving that age is just a number and passion never fades. Her journey has been anything but ordinary. In an industry notorious for its fleeting fame, Lee has carved out a space defined by talent, resilience, and sheer determination. Behind the glamorous lights of Hollywood, she faced challenges that would have deterred most, yet she emerged stronger, leaving an indelible mark on acting, directing, and entertainment as a whole. Her story is one of inspiration, showcasing the power of persistence and the rewards of unwavering dedication to one's craft. What makes Lee Grant's story even more remarkable at 99 is her continued influence and vitality. She remains a symbol of excellence, reminding the world that true talent only grows deeper with time. From her unforgettable Oscar-winning performances to her advocacy for artists' rights and creative integrity, Lee's life is a testament to what it means to be fearless, resilient, and unapologetically authentic. In this video, we dive into the extraordinary life of Lee Grant at 99. We'll explore her iconic career moments, the personal and professional challenges she overcame, and the reasons why her legacy continues to captivate audiences today. Prepare to be inspired, amazed, and deeply moved by the incredible journey of a true Hollywood legend. Long before she became a Hollywood icon, Lee Grant's life began as a story of ambition and perseverance. Born Leova Haskell Rosenthal on October 31, 1925, in New York City, she grew up surrounded by the energy of a city bursting with artistic creativity. From a young age, Lee was captivated by the performing arts. Dance, theater, and storytelling became her world. Her parents recognized her natural talent and encouraged her to pursue her passion, setting her on a path that would eventually lead to global recognition. Lee's early years were defined by both discipline and dream. She trained at the prestigious neighborhood Playhouse School of the Theater under Sanford Meisner, one of the most respected acting instructors of the 20th century. His emphasis on truth and emotional authenticity would become a cornerstone of Lee's craft. She also attended the Actors Studio, where she studied alongside future legends, like Marlon Brando and James Dean. It was here that Lee began developing her signature intensity, a mix of vulnerability and fire that would make her one of the most dynamic performers of her generation. Her first major breakthrough came with her performance in Detective Story, 1951, a role that earned her critical acclaim and an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress. Audiences were immediately captivated by her raw emotion and fearless portrayal. Critics hailed her as one of Hollywood's brightest rising stars, destined for greatness. However, just as her career was beginning to soar, fate took an unexpected turn that would change everything. In the early 1950s, America was deep in the era of McCarthyism, a time when fear and suspicion ran rampant in Hollywood. Lee Grant, outspoken and politically aware, was blacklisted after speaking out against the House Un-American Activities Committee. For over a decade, she was effectively banned from working in film and television. What could have been the peak of her career became a fight for survival and dignity. Yet Lee refused to let the system break her spirit. During her years away from Hollywood, she turned her focus to theater, teaching, and stage performances in New York. She found solace and purpose in acting on smaller stages, where she continued honing her craft and maintaining her artistic identity. This period tested her resilience, but it also revealed her strength. She refused to conform, proving that her passion for storytelling was stronger than the forces that tried to silence her. Her perseverance paid off in the 1960s when she made a triumphant return to film and television. With roles in Peyton Place and In the Heat of the Night, 1967, Lee reminded the world of her brilliance. Her performance in Shampoo, 1975, would finally earn her the long-deserved Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. It wasn't just a professional victory. It was a personal one. After being exiled from Hollywood for so long, Lee had reclaimed her place among its elite. Lee Grant's early life and rise to stardom encapsulate the story of a woman who refused to surrender to adversity. She emerged from the shadows of political persecution to become one of the most respected artists in Hollywood history. Her ability to turn hardship into creative fuel became her defining trait, inspiring generations of actors who came after her. Even now, at 99, Lee's early struggles continue to serve as a reminder of her courage and integrity. Her story is not just one of fame, it's about endurance, artistry, and the unwavering belief that truth in performance can outlast any era of fear or oppression. The Hollywood blacklist remains one of the darkest chapters in entertainment history, a time when careers were destroyed, reputations tarnished, and lives upended by suspicion and fear. For Lee Grant, this era was deeply personal. At the height of her early success, she found herself suddenly ostracized from the very industry that had once celebrated her talent. Her crime was not a scandal or betrayal, but the simple act of expressing compassion and independence of thought, qualities that would later define her legacy. After speaking out at a memorial service in defense of a blacklisted actor, Lee was labeled as politically unreliable, the House Un-American Activities. Committee placed her name on the list of artists suspected of communist sympathies, a baseless accusation that would cost her more than a decade of professional opportunity. Practically overnight, Hollywood doors slammed shut. Offers disappeared, agents stopped calling, and casting directors refused to associate with her name. Yet what could have been the end of her story became the start of a new chapter in resilience. Lee refused to disappear. Instead, she redirected her focus, using the theater as her sanctuary. Performing on stage in New York allowed her to remain connected to her art while avoiding the rigid censorship of Hollywood. She became a fixture of the off-Broadway scene, earning respect from peers and audiences who recognized her unwavering commitment to her craft. During this period, she also turned inward, using her time away from film to reflect, grow, and refine her artistic perspective. Her experiences deepened her empathy, allowing her to understand the complexities of struggle and injustice in ways that would later influence both her acting and directing. Lee once described this time as both exile and education, painful, yet profoundly transformative. When the blacklist finally began to dissolve in the early 1960s, Lee Grant emerged not as a victim but as a survivor. Her return to the screen was nothing short of triumphant. In Peyton Place, she played a character who mirrored her own experiences, a woman wronged by an unjust system, yet determined to rise again. Critics hailed her return as one of the most powerful comebacks in Hollywood history. But Lee's success wasn't limited to acting. As she reestablished her career, she began exploring new creative paths, particularly in directing. The years of enforced silence had given her perspective and purpose. She understood the importance of using her platform to tell stories that mattered, those about women, injustice, and the human condition. Her later work as a documentary filmmaker, including Down and Out in America, 1986, would earn her an Academy Award and further cement her as a fearless voice in entertainment. Overcoming the blacklist was not simply about reclaiming fame, it was about reclaiming identity. For Lee, it was an act of defiance against an industry that had once turned its back on her. By transforming pain into power, she demonstrated that artistry cannot be suppressed by politics or fear. Her courage inspired others to speak up, pushing Hollywood toward a more open and honest creative environment. Even decades later, Lee has reflected on those years with remarkable grace. Instead of bitterness, she carries wisdom, understanding that the very experiences meant to destroy her instead made her stronger. The blacklist tested her spirit, but it also shaped her into a woman of immense character, empathy, and purpose. At 99, Lee Grant stands as living proof that silence can be broken and injustice can be overcome through perseverance and truth. Her triumph over the blacklist was not just a personal victory, but a victory for every artist who believes in the power of integrity and the resilience of the human voice. When Lee Grant finally returned to Hollywood after years of exile, she didn't just pick up where she left off, she reinvented herself. The woman who once stood on the outside looking in now came back with greater depth, sharper instincts, and an unshakable understanding of what it meant to survive. Her resilience, forged through hardship, became her secret weapon, allowing her to shine in roles that demanded emotional truth and authenticity. In the mid-1960s and early 1970s, Lee reestablished herself as one of the most respected and versatile actresses in the business. Her performances In the Heat of the Night, 1967, and Valley of the Dolls, 1967, reminded audiences of her extraordinary presence. She had an uncanny ability to disappear into her characters. Every gesture, every glance, every pause felt deliberate and real. Critics often described her as a thinking actor, someone who didn't just perform lines but inhabited them fully, giving each role a pulse and a soul. But it was her role in Shampoo, 1975, that cemented her place in Hollywood history. Playing the sophisticated yet vulnerable Felicia Karpf, Lee delivered a performance that was both biting and deeply human. It earned her the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress, a moment of vindication more than 2 decades in the making. The woman who had once been silenced by political fear now stood on stage holding the industry's highest honor. It wasn't just a win for Lee Grant. It was a win for every artist who had ever been told they didn't belong. Even after achieving this pinnacle of success, Lee refused to be confined by Hollywood's expectations. As she entered her 50s, an age when many actresses were written off by the industry, she began exploring directing, a field even less forgiving to women at the time. Yet, just as she had before, Lee broke barriers. Her directorial work focused on social justice, inequality, and the complexities of human relationships. Films like Tell Me a Riddle, 1980, and documentaries such as Down and Out in America, 1986, showcased her fearless storytelling and empathy for marginalized voices. The latter earned her yet another Academy Award, this time for Best Documentary Feature, making her one of the few artists to win Oscars both in front of and behind the camera. Her ability to transition between acting and directing was revolutionary. It wasn't just about creative control, it was about reclaiming her narrative, refusing to let others define her career. Through her films, Lee gave a voice to those who had been ignored or misunderstood, much like she herself had been during the blacklist years. By the 1980s and 1990s, Lee Grant had become more than an actress. She was a legend, an educator, and a mentor. She began teaching acting and directing, guiding younger generations with the same intensity and compassion that had defined her career. Her insights were drawn not just from technique but from lived experience, a combination that made her one of the most respected voices in Hollywood's creative community. Her story of reinvention continues to inspire because it proves that success isn't about a single moment of triumph. It's about persistence, transformation, and purpose. Lee Grant turned pain into power and setbacks into opportunities. Her journey from blacklist to Academy Awards, from exile to empowerment, remains one of the most remarkable narratives in entertainment history. Today, at 99, her legacy is untouchable. She stands as a symbol of strength, grace, and fearless artistry, a living bridge between old Hollywood glamour and modern creative freedom. Lee Grant didn't just survive the system, she outsmarted it, outlasted it, and emerged as one of its most enduring figures. As Lee Grant enters her centennial year, her legacy has only deepened with time. For many, reaching 99 is a feat in itself. But for Lee, it's another act in a lifelong story defined by courage, creativity, and reinvention. Her journey has transcended the boundaries of Hollywood, leaving a lasting mark not just as an actress, but as a filmmaker, mentor, and humanitarian. Even today, Lee remains active in causes close to her heart. She continues to advocate for women's rights and representation in Hollywood, having experienced firsthand the price of speaking out in an industry that often silenced women. "If you've lived through being blacklisted and survived, you stop being afraid of what others think," she once said. Those words reflect her refusal to conform to societal expectations, even at an age when most people choose quiet retirement. Her work as a director, particularly in documentaries, remains as relevant as ever. Films like Down and Out in America continue to be studied for their raw honesty and emotional resonance. In an era dominated by social media and curated perfection, Lee's work stands as a reminder that true storytelling demands vulnerability and empathy. She didn't just entertain audiences, she challenged them to care. Lee's relationships with younger generations of filmmakers also tell a story of generosity and mentorship. Many have credited her with inspiring them to pursue authenticity in storytelling. "She didn't just teach us how to make films," one protege said. "She taught us how to see people." That perhaps is the essence of her artistry, her ability to look beyond fame and find humanity in every story. At home, Lee has found peace in simplicity. Her days are now filled with reading, writing, and quiet reflection, surrounded by mementos of a life well lived. Friends describe her as sharp-witted, deeply curious, and remarkably grounded. "She remembers everything," one close friend laughed. "Dates, names, emotions, she carries history in her head and heart. While her public appearances have become rare, each one feels monumental. Whether it's a film festival honoring her achievements or a rare interview, audiences are captivated by her vitality. At 99, Lee's voice carries a wisdom that few can match. When asked about the secret to her longevity, she quipped, "Never stop asking questions, and never stop rebelling a little." Indeed, rebellion has always been at the core of Lee Grant's identity. From standing up against injustice during the McCarthy era to breaking gender barriers in directing, she's lived by her own code. And that defiance, paired with compassion, has made her a timeless icon. Her story is one of survival and triumph, but also of grace. Through decades of change, Lee has remained steadfast in her belief that art can transform lives. "Movies gave me a voice when the world tried to silence me," she once reflected, "and I've been talking ever since." As the world celebrates her 99th birthday, Lee Grant stands as living proof that age is not a limit, but a testament to endurance. Her name evokes not only nostalgia, but inspiration, a reminder that greatness isn't defined by youth or glamour, but by resilience, empathy, and the courage to keep creating even when the odds are against you. Lee Grant's journey, from child prodigy to blacklisted actress, to Oscar-winning icon, and now to one of Hollywood's most respected elders, is a story that continues to inspire generations. And as she looks back on nearly a century of life, one thing remains certain. Lee Grant didn't just survive Hollywood, she conquered it with grace, intelligence, and a spirit that refuses to fade.